Every single day, the gaming industry becomes weaker on its grip and stranglehold that it has on you as a consumer. And the weaker the grip becomes, the more desperate the industry, in fact, gets. We've been seeing everything from massive amounts of censorship on Steam to now, of course, at the same time, seeing Ubisoft and other European unions try to gather together and lobby against things like Stop Killing Games, which apparently SKG has in fact reached the 1.4 million signature milestone with just a few days left to go at the time of this recording, and that is absolutely amazing. Now, this doesn't mean that this will go into law or be actually practiced effect in the future, but what this does mean is that now the EU has to look into this to see if it is even viable to move over to the next step. This is a big win, but a small win in the grand scheme of things. But the problem isn't just the fact that SKG has neared its first step. The problem is that the gaming industry is doing whatever they can to fight tooth, claw, and nail in order to stop this from going through. They're comfortable in their positions of monetary recompense. They're comfortable in their ability to charge you more money for less products. They're comfortable with the fact that you do not own your actual product, and Ubisoft has been the poster child for all of this. Everything from seeing their EULA get exposed to saying, hey, once that license is over, you got to destroy those games, baby. You don't own those things anymore. Those are gone. Buy the new one that we're going to make you buy instead. That's the one you got to buy. Give us more money while we don't give any of that back to you, by the way. And Ubisoft practices get even more scummy, as if we didn't see this previously from EA. Remember the whole like surprise mechanics thing? Well, here's what Ubisoft had to say about their microtransactions. According to the tweet by Dexerto, Ubisoft claims that putting microtransactions in single-player games like Assassin's Creed Shadows makes them, quote, more fun to play. They argue it's because players can progress more quickly if they pay for boosters. I can't. Really? Truly, it's going to make it more fun to play, which means you literally designed the game to not be fun unless you give them more money. You purposely went through and created dynamic ways of controlling player enjoyment and engagement by creating non-stop time gate materials in order to force players to either A, grind by spending their time on doing that, or B, giving you more money after the $70 video game, now soon to be $80, thanks Nintendo, in order to bypass the grind that you purposely put into the video game. And you're saying, hey, look, listen, boys, we can't solve this problem. It's not our fault that we designed the game this exact specific way. We didn't need to put these sort of mechanics in the video game in the first place, but we found the solution for you. That's right. The problem we created, we found the actual fix. That's by you giving us more money to skip the time gates that we added in the get. This company, this actual idiotic, moronic company who goes around and puts their own son as the next leader of that company, and they're like, there's no nepotism here, boys. It's gonna be great, you guys. It's fine. And the crazier part is they are in fact against SKG, which we'll talk about later, and are one of the groups inside of the lobbyist group going against SKG in the EU. I wonder why. I wonder why a company would want you to destroy your discs and your games after the license is expired. The same company that makes their own time-gated mechanics inside of the games for you to pay to get past to have the fun in the video game is mad about you owning the game. Man, like Joe from Seattle pointed out, I'm sure their stock price is doing really great. Oh, well, would you look at that? Things ain't going so hot over there, Ubisoft France, are they right now, my boys, are they? But besides the insanity of Ubisoft going around and literally admitting they are creating games that are time-gated on purpose to make you spend more money, you basically have to give them money to give them more money, which is kind of wild if you ask me. They're making you pay for your own money, basically, which is a really fun thing to watch. They are now showing complete incompetence as to what the SKG initiative is in fact about. And it gets even crazier because not only is the CEO of Ubisoft saying these things, it turns out that Ross of Accursed Farms is now possibly breaking EU law. Is he really though? The answer is no, but we're gonna go over it anyways. Trust me, you're gonna love it. Ross of Accursed Farms tweeted this out yesterday saying, "I'm surprised the CEO of Ubisoft has responded to SKG. I think he might be purposefully acting ignorant, talking about the endless support. It's easier for the industry to pretend they don't understand the demand than acknowledge the problem and the solution." It turns out that according to GameFile, they had an interview with Yves Guillemot directly, and some of the statements he made are very worrying, especially because, like Ross from Accursed Farms said, they are obfuscating and literally ignoring the real thing that SKG is asking for. At the same time, they're making up their own straw man arguments to try and say this is the real problem and we can't do this because of XYZ, even though that's not the case at all. And it'll tie back directly into what we talked about with Ubisoft and their microtransactions as well. Let's see what the article had to say though and go from there. Yves Guillemot is quoted as saying this, quote, "Regarding the petition, we operate in a market," Guillemot said, as noted by GameFile. "And whenever we release a game, we provide a lot of support for that game. We also provide a lot of services to make sure that the game is accessible and remains playable 24/7. Guillemot says that the company provides, quote, "information regarding the game and how long the game can be played," though he doesn't go into specifics about how those notices work. The crew did have a badge on its front box noting online connection required, and a notice in the fine print on the back that Ubisoft may cancel access to one or more specific online features upon a 30-day prior notice. Whether those sorts of notices are legally sufficient will likely be put to the test, in the EU at least, after the Stop Killing Games petition passes its final deadline at the end of the month. Yves Guillemot is also quoted by saying this, "But this kind of issue is not specific to Ubisoft." Guillemot continues, "All video game publishers are faced with that issue. You provide a service, but nothing is written in stone, and at some point the service may be discontinued. Nothing is eternal, and we are doing our best to make sure that things go well for all players and buyers, because obviously support for games cannot last forever." And this is exactly what Ross is talking about. No one is saying that you have to support the game forever, and Yves Guillemot is literally making a straw man argument. This entire thing is based upon the fact that we don't want the game to be supported forever. We want to have access to the game after you cut support, Yves Guillemot. That's the entire point of this. If you're going to go around and say, hey, we're going to stop supporting this title, great, awesome, thank you for the great times. However, though, I should still be able to access my purchased product and title while being able to play that game, because I gave you the money for that product. You're treating every single game as a service when in fact they are not. They are literal products and should be treated as such. Simply because you update the game does not mean it immediately falls into a service type of category. That would mean that even back in the 90s and early 2000s, when we were doing patches for our video games, those would be considered as services as well, even though we weren't paying for those patches. That is exactly the issue what we're seeing here, and why Yves is totally obfuscating the exact argument being made. He's trying to state that SKG is asking the developers and publishers to continually, perpetually, forever create support for a video game, when that's not the case at all. In fact, literally on the first page of the Stop Killing Games initiative, it even says this: Stop Killing Games is a consumer movement starting to challenge the legality of publishers destroying video games they have sold to customers. We're not asking you for perpetual updates. We're not asking you for perpetual support. We're not asking you to make the game to be supported until perpetuity or the end of time. What we're asking you to do is stop killing the game. If the servers go offline, give us offline access for the game. If their servers are going to go down, give us the ability for peer-to-peer or making our own servers. The fact that I can do that in 1.6 of Counter-Strike and I can do that in Counter-Strike 2 really explains everything. But this also goes with Valve as well, because they turned Counter-Strike Go into Counter-Strike 2. CS:GO is literally gone. It's impossible to play ever again. I can only play CS2. You see how that works? It shouldn't be like that. I should have Counter-Strike 1.6, CS:GO, CS2. I don't have that anymore. I only have CS2. And all the achievements I earned in CS:GO are gone because there's only one left in CS2. That's the issue we're talking about here. We're not talking about you guys adding support for perpetuity. We're talking about the game still being available to be played even after you end support. Simply giving us an offline mode and saying, hey, once we're done with the servers, okay, cool, we made out the second game. The new one's out now. But you know what? Here's an offline mode with bots and you can play it there if you want to, or just upgrade for an X amount of fee like you've been doing for the crew. That's all people want to do. They just want to play games with their friends. You know, the games that you asked the money for, the games that you went through and said, hey, give us a $70 for, that's what they want. They gave you the money. Now give us access to the game that we bought. You don't get to pick and choose when we can't play the video game. Just like the actual clowns in Australia shouldn't be able to pick and choose what kind of games we can actually play in the Steam store, simply because they want to send emails to payment processors to start censoring all the types of games that they don't like. That's the problem here. We're talking about actual control of the content. And Eves is starting to make an argument saying, well, we're not going to support it forever, so we can't do that, when that's not the case at all. We're not asking for that. We're asking you to stop killing the video game. And to bring it all back together, to put it all in a nice little bow in a package for you, Ubisoft literally admitted to designing their games to have microtransactions by causing you more friction to play the game without giving them more money. You see how that worked? They literally admitted it. If you give us more money, the game gets more fun. Who's also to say that they're also not admitting that they're literally designing their games to be cut off, to make you buy the next one, so that way you're continuously giving them more money for every title released afterwards, and they're restricting you access to the previous title game because they can't milk you out of money from that old title anymore. They're literally designing these things on purpose to have planned obsolescence in front of your face, and the fact that anybody's trying to defend this is shocking to me, which really goes to show that the people who are against this do not see the fact that these companies are doing it to you right now in front of everybody, and the actual couple $100,000 it'll take to make the game an offline mode is really nothing in comparison to the goodwill that they would make if they would simply just provide that for the customer and consumer. Oh, I get to play this forever as a digital copy no matter what? Cool, thanks. You know what? Yeah, I will give you more money. Fuck, that's awesome. Hell yeah, dude. They're not seeing it that way. They're seeing it as that's a lost sale. That's what they're seeing it as. Well, if they're playing the old one, that means you're not playing the new one. That means you're not getting time gated by our microtransactions and the grind that we put in the game, which means they're not still giving us more money. You see how that works? That's what they're trying to do! In fact, Games Radar saw this and they called Eves out, saying this: it is of course true that no game can be supported forever, but forcing companies into perpetual updates isn't what Stop Killing Games is trying to do. As the campaign's FAQ notes, the goal is to get publishers to, quote, implement an end-of-life plan to modify or patch the game so that it can run on customer systems, even after a server shutdown. That notion is at least somewhat sympathetic to Ubisoft, since the company has already announced plans to introduce an offline mode for The Crew 2. That doesn't help the original Crew though, or the other dead Ubisoft games, including X-Defiant. When the fact that a gaming journalist publication can literally see everything going wrong that Ubisoft is saying and put everything together to say, hey, that's wrong. That's not exactly what they're saying at all. Even we can click a link and see it in their FAQ right now. You know, these game companies are hurting. They're literally hurting inside. They cannot fathom the idea of doing one iota of extra work or spending one more penny or red cent to give you a better product overall. And that just tells me one thing and one thing only, that the SKG initiative, even though it may have its flaws, is on the absolute right track when these companies are literally shitting, pissing, coming, and queefing in their own fucking pants. You know that we are pressing on the right nerves. When they're making up their own arguments, we're doing the right thing. When they're trying to defame and put people aside and say, oh no, we're totally doing a straw man here, that's exactly what they're trying to do. You know that we are on the right path, and they're scared and they're terrified, and feels good. It feels so good to see them freak out about all of this. But you know what? It's not just Ubisoft freaking out. No. In fact, it got better, because apparently now the gaming industry is trying to defame Ross of Accursed Farms against the European Union. And they're doing every dirty trick in the book that they can to bring down SKG. It turns out that yesterday Ross uploaded this new video, and it will definitely let you know that we're on the right path. The industry filed false claims against the Stop Killing Games initiative. It turns out that someone anonymously created false claims against Ross from Accursed Farms and SKG, not realizing exactly what Ross does for SKG or how it actually applies altogether. In this video, he in fact breaks down all of the reasons as to why these allegations are in fact incorrect. In fact, here are the violations that were anonymously posted against Ross and Stop Killing Games. Current violation: 1. False, quote, no funding, quote, declaration. The official ECI register at Citizens Initiative Europe currently displays no content available under sources of funding, indicating the organizers have declared zero funding sources. 2. Systematic concealment of major contribution. This declaration appears fundamentally incorrect based on publicly documented evidence of substantial, undisclosed professional contributions to the campaign. Now, those seem like some pretty intense accusations. I'm sure that they'll be able to pull up some real evidence about this, right? As disclosed by Ross in his video, he shows this evidence of undisclosed contribution. First is Ross's public statement in a PC Gamer article saying, quote, there have been many weeks on the campaign where I've been working 12 to 14 hours a day to keep things moving to get signatures. And the second point of evidence is this, with Ross saying, I've been running a rickshaw carrying people to the destination. This is not evidence. Ross saying he worked 12 to 14 hours a day for the campaign is not evidence of him manipulating it or providing contributions. Him saying he's running a rickshaw is not literally him putting people into a rickshaw to push them over to sign the petition. It's a term of speech. It's not real. It's just, The better part about it is, in Ross's video, he even points out that he's volunteering his time for this. He's not getting paid.
But get ready, because here comes the clown accounting. 15 to 20 weeks of 12 to 14 hour days. That's interesting that they call this a conservative estimate, because they're making these numbers up. They may as well be reading tea leaves. It's true, I think I've spent that many hours a day working on this campaign. For some weeks, but 15 to 20? That would have killed me. Some weeks were this high, others it was anywhere from 0 to 4 hours a day. I don't know. You know why I don't know? Because I never track my hours. Why would I? Nobody was hiring me for this. It's all volunteer time. The only reason I said 12 to 14 is because there were plenty of days where I would wake up, work the whole time, then go to bed, minus eating, exercise, and essential chores. And those days make me batty. I hate working that much. But I am impressed that they think they know my hours better than I do. Oh, but here's the good part. Professional rate, 50 to 75 euros an hour. Yeah, maybe that would mean something if I was a professional who had a rate for anything. Minimum estimated value, 63 to 147,000 euros. Oh, yeah. Okay, this one annoys me a bit because their low end, 63,000 euros, is more money I've made in any year in my entire life. Though hey, I'm sure all kinds of people are worth more if they make up numbers about how much they should be getting paid from imaginary sources. But they're saying my volunteer work is worth that much, so by not reporting it, it's violating Article 17, yada yada. Their supporting evidence is media treating me as though I'm the leader, and me saying I've worked a lot on this. Well, it's true, I have worked a lot on this. But I must have said publicly that I'm ineligible to join the initiative at least 50 times. And this may surprise the accuser, but sometimes game journalists get details wrong when reporting on something.
So hold on. No. Yes, you're hearing that correctly. Ross's volunteer work where he's not being paid for it, the accuser, who remained anonymous by the way, decided to go through and create their own hourly rate that Ross would be, quote, earning, even though he's volunteering and not earning any money from it directly. So yes, we're just making shit up is what we're doing. We're just putting all the pieces together, what we think's actually happening, even though Ross has admitted himself that he cannot even be part of the SKG initiative because he doesn't live in Europe. So he can't even do it. It's, oh my God. It's really crazy how these game companies are this terrified from a couple of balding bros on the internet telling them, hey, we just want to be able to play our game when you shut down the servers. Why are they acting this way, creating anonymous accusations at Ross, doing incorrect information, trying to use PC Gamer articles, worst of all, and then creating their own idea of what Ross is actually making without any evidence financially by volunteering for Stop Killing Games? In fact, Ross even points out in the EU Commission exactly why this is all bullshit.
Who is considered a sponsor? Sponsors are people or organizations providing financial support over 500 euros. Okay, well, I've spent 0 euros on the initiative, just a crapload of time, so that's not me. Legal persons or organizations providing other economically quantifiable in-kind donations or non-economically quantifiable support to an initiative are also considered sponsors. Well, I've been advised I'm not a legal person, I'm a natural person. That sounds right, and I certainly wasn't representing an official organization. I mean, I haven't signed one form with Stop Killing Games on it, or for the initiative for that matter. Individuals providing non-financial support, such as volunteering, are not considered sponsors under the ECI regulation and do not need to be reported. Oh, what's that? That description, which is exactly what I've been doing? So the EU says the initiative has been following the rules this entire time? But what about this anonymous accuser saying the EU doesn't know its own rules? Is there a hidden clause here? Like you're not a sponsor unless you work really hard? So let's get this straight. We've got an anonymous complaint saying the initiative is violating EU law. I'm apparently in charge of the initiative despite being ineligible to even join it, hence why my name is not on here. The accuser is making up how many hours I've worked on this and are making up imaginary money amounts I've supposedly donated in kind, and their claims directly contradict the EU's own laws on this.
And there it is. It cannot be any clearer. Ross does not have to report anything to the EU simply because he is in fact a volunteer. He has not signed any paperwork. He's not a front-facing character of the entire thing because he doesn't live in the EU. He doesn't sign anything off. All he's done is promote the entire thing and provide volunteer work to let people know of the initiative directly happening in the EU. This accuser is literally making direct false allegations against Ross and SKG and doing it as an anonymous user, which means to me that gaming companies are in fact incredibly terrified of SKG in the first place, which means that SKG is pressing on the right nerves. They're getting scared, they're getting terrified, and they don't like the fact that they could possibly be losing control. When all these game companies had to do in the very beginning is just provide some pro-consumer movements to the actual customer, they would have avoided all of this altogether. That small little amount of money you had to pay in order to give an offline mode or some bots in a video game is nothing in comparison to the amount of bullshit you're putting yourselves through, paying these lobbyists, paying these anonymous accusers, paying all this money to go on these tours, now going to be paying for lawyers and doing all this bullshit simply because you didn't want to give away the 10 cents on your microtransaction in the video game that you designed directly to create a grind that you then want the actual gamer to give you more money on top of in the video game to remove the grind, and then complain that games cost too much money to make and the fact you need more money from gamers to make those games. Beautiful. Perfection across every board and every landscape. And the crazier part is watching ex-developers, people like Pirate Software and others, talk about how this is a bad thing for you as a consumer, even though right now every consumer has been literally getting back ways, 6 ways from Sunday, no spit, no lube, biting the pillow raw, simply because these publishers want to squeeze every red cent out of your backside that they possibly can. Ubisoft admitted they're designing their games on purpose to make you pay more. Ubisoft admitted they don't know what they're talking about in terms of SKG. We're now seeing anonymous users create false allegations against Ross and the EU about SKG. We're seeing lobbyists go around and make false strawman arguments about SKG and the video game space in general, saying it'll cost them more money to put an offline mode than to make the fucking game, even though they're literally designing the games to squeeze more money out of you as a consumer. Boy, I wonder who's right. It's not the publisher or the developer, by the way. It's the actual consumer. That's who's right. God! But with that being said, let me know what you guys think about this in the comments section down below. Hopefully Ross can fight these allegations against him and he'll come out the victor at the end of this. And hopefully now that SKG has reached the 1.4 million signatures, we can get even more people. So if you live in the EU and you haven't signed it yet, check the pinned comment down below and go there directly. If you want to see more of this kind of content, more PC port reviews, gaming news, Steam Deck videos, my hot takes in the gaming industry, fanboy content, and live streams every Saturday night, 8:45 p.m. Eastern. Subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 88,000 subscribers. And I just want to say, you guys are the best and you're amazing and you're absolutely out of this fucking world for subscribing. But if you want even more access, if you want Discord access and most during live streams, become a YouTube member. It's as low as $1. If you don't want to spend the buck, don't sweat it. Saturday nights, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, live right here on this channel. The streams are insane. You're not going to want to miss it. Trust me. I get insulted for about 5 to 6 hours with AITTS as the chat goes insane, making fun of me on a consistent basis. And I just got to lay there and take it because you guys are the best. With all that being said, though, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a great one. And I'll see you gooners next time. Peace!